Friendship is the story of Craig, who is a average suburban house husband who works a job and has one son and a beautiful wife played by Kate Mara named Tammy. One day, Tim Robinson plays Craig. Craig gets a package for the wrong house down the street. Walks it over there, knocks on the door, and meets Austin, played by Paul Rudd, who is this character who is everything that Craig is not. Craig is boring and a loser and awkward and never says anything interesting. And it kind of has a funny gap-toothed smile. Meanwhile, Austin is cool and calm and collected, and he's got like a cool man cave and plays music, and he's even got a band, and he's like on TV, does the weather, right? And like he's everything that Craig wants to be. And Austin invites him in, and they have an immediate connection, and they get along. And even though Craig's a little awkward, like Austin kind of takes a liking to him. Austin invites him back later to meet some of Austin's friends. Like they kind of have a get together. And things got a little awkward because Craig's kind of an awkward guy. And the start of those events spin off what turns into almost an extended episode of I Think You Should Leave, where Craig is kind of told that, hey, I don't really want to be friends anymore from Austin. And he says, you can't do that. You can't just not be friends anymore. Like you were way too cool, way too fast. And then things get funny and they get really funny. And it ends up being this awkward, stilted journey into having connections with people and learning to understand social cues and get by. And it's really interesting. It's from writer-director Andrew DeYoung, who's done a lot of television. This is his first big feature as far as I can tell. And he's done a lot of TV episodes, really cool stuff. And it seems like this movie is supplemented by the talent in it. Tim Robinson, Paul Rudd, Kate Mara, Dylan Grazer's in it, along with a host of Tim Robinson friends who kind of arrive. I think their improv moments are the things that really make it work, but it kind of lulls in the middle a little bit. Kind of sags and starts to lose its way almost before making the big finish. Andy, what do you think of Friendship?
Man, I thought this was really funny. We saw it in a half-filled theater. People were cracking up the whole time. And from the beginning, from the opening scene, which is kind of at a cancer support center because his wife, Tammy, played by Kate Mara, has just beaten cancer, but is still, dealing with a lot of psychological effects. And Craig struggles to kind of not be the center of attention in this situation, or Tammy talks about like she wonders if she's ever going to orgasm again, and then Craig's like, "Well, I've been doing it just fine."
Yeah, no problems there.
It has a weird tie to Nathan Fielder actually, because Craig is someone who doesn't read social cues very well. He doesn't understand social situations, but craves. Being social, craves community and brotherhood, and he thinks he's found that with Paul Rudd's Austin, and he does initially, and he thinks that Austin is like the coolest guy. He's got this rad mustache, and he kind of talks like he's doing an Anchorman bit, and he's got cool stuff in his house, and he kind of starts copying everything. But then he also just like when he goes to a group thing with Austin and his friends, Craig can't really deal with the not being kind of the center of attention, or like feels like he has to try and fit in and try to impress all these guys, which just, as you would assume, just ends up embarrassing himself and making it worse. And then he just it becomes a cycle of this, of where he's accepted, but then he screws it up, and then he keeps trying, then he doubles down, and it's so funny. But it is kind of touching on some serious subjects about like community and masculinity and brotherhood. It's really funny.
Yeah, it sets that tone in that opening scene with the cancer stuff. It's like, hey, there's really serious stakes here. Like, somebody almost died. This woman's in recovery. And meanwhile, like, Craig is like hapless. And it's just like, he's almost like Homer Simpson. Like, oh, everything's fine. Like, he just doesn't seem to really take it all that serious. And Tammy comments on it a couple times. Like, hey, you never really listened to me. They have really real problems. And additionally, like, Craig's relationship with Austin is surprisingly real. Because at first you think, like, what would Austin like about this dude? He's so odd, but he kind of takes a liking to him. And it turns out they have a lot in common. Way more than you'd think as the movie really starts to run through. Like, they both have complex problems. Like, they're both trying to fit in at their job. I mean, Austin talks about how he's the night weatherman, but he wants to be the morning weatherman. And after taking advice from Craig, he gets the gig. Like, they genuinely have some real connection for sure. But also Austin is closed off in a way that like Craig can't really break through. It's funny because Robinson manages to put the film on his back for sure. It's Tim Robinson's movie. And Tim Robinson's friends show up. Fantastic performance from Connor O'Malley in here and his very brief screen time. It's really funny. But it's the soul of this movie. While the body is Tim Robinson, the soul of it is Andrew DeYoung, who wrote it. And this is, I think, where kind of the broader problems of friendship step out. Admittedly, I was a little too excited for this movie. I'm a big fan of I Think You Should Leave. I've watched Detroiters back and forth a couple times. I think Tim Robinson can do no wrong, and he's fantastic here. But those broader strokes, where the movie starts to lull and sag, I think it comes from Young's experience in television, where everything has got to be edited to the letter, to the moment, right? Everything's got to be edited tight. This movie breathes, takes its time, gives you time to sit. And sometimes that makes for funny, awkward performances. But other times it makes it feel like you just don't know where it's going. You're like, where is this headed exactly? Like, where is this going to go? Is this going to get better or worse? Is somebody going to like shake hands and hug, or is somebody going to whip out a gun and shoot somebody? Like, you never really know where it's headed. And I think that works for some, but for me, who is probably hoping for something a little bit more like a project written by Tim Robinson, which this movie is not. He did not write this movie. It doesn't have that. That's the little piece of magic that is missing, I think, in Friendship.
Right. The plot does kind of meander in the middle. After he falls out with Austin, he's still craving this community, and so he tries to build it in other places, like with his work friends, and that. He invites everyone over for beers, but of course he kind of messes up that situation, and then he's now getting made fun of at work. And unfortunately, or fortunately, he is good at his job, so people want him around for that. But he's just so terrible socially that he just screws that up. He starts to mess things up with his marriage, and it just like you could not predict where most of this movie goes. Someone, our friend Matt, friend of the show, compared it to Uncut Gems, where you have this character who's addicted to a certain thing, and just when you think he's got it down and he's a changed person, recovered, he just kind of doubles down and keeps making it worse.
Yeah, it's
so
such
funny.
an interesting. Yeah, like he just keeps falling further and further. And it's not a man who doesn't have it together. He's got a job and a wife and a son and a house. Like, this is clearly somebody who's had it together before the events of this movie. But Craig is just kind of on a track. Like, this is just the track that everybody said you do, right? You go get a job and you get married, you have a kid. And he starts to figure out with Austin that, like, there's a totally different way I could be living my life. I could be doing something for me. And ultimately, that's kind of the best part, I think, of Friendship. That's the hopeful part. Outside of the just absurd, like, performances, which I think were probably a lot of improv. You get the vibe that, like, a lot of these takes are, like, just the actors doing take 3 or 4 or 5 and being like, can I take a swing at this line? Let me just try something out. Let me just see how this works. Connor O'Malley comes out screaming, "You should be dead." And, like, it's just, I think that is the best parts of this movie. Like, those are the things that work really well. I also like what it has to say about masculinity. It's real subtle in there, but like in the first 15 minutes they hit Fight Club, which is crazy. Like, very quickly do these two throw on some like boxing gloves playfully, and like they're hanging out at Craig's house, like, oh yeah, we'll have a little fight. And I was like, okay, sick, they're doing Fight Club, because in this case Craig would be Edward Norton's character, right? Who's like the loser and has a job but like isn't happy. And then Austin would be our Tyler Durden, right? He's everything Craig wants to be. And like, I thought just in the, like, watching the movie, like, is this just going to be Fight Club the whole runtime? Is that what we're getting? But nah, they actually pushed past that, like, by like the 20-minute mark. Really pleasant and informed by it. And I thought that was sharp. Like, clearly, like, DeYoung's got a long career ahead of him. Like, solid first entry, I think. If this is his first real feature. Looking at IMDb, it's his first feature in a minute. I didn't scroll through and read exactly, but like, as far as I can tell. So yeah, any other thoughts or recommendations?
I think I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Friendship?
Yeah, absolutely would. There's not a lot of comedies made these days, especially ones that hit the theater. This is one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. I mean, the laughs start from minute one, and you're laughing the whole time. It is a lot of it cringe humor, but it also has a very kind of important story about a man seeking community and acceptance and struggling to deal with that. It does kind of meander a little bit in the middle, but I really enjoyed it, so I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I think it's really funny. Would recommend. It's very odd. Yeah, it's a bit of that cringe humor that I was just saying earlier that I'm not really into, but like it manages to toe the line in a way that I think is pleasant. It's a good first entry if you haven't watched a lot of Tim Robinson content before. I think it's a great place to start. And then you can get into kind of his more absurd stuff on the side because I think you should leave is plenty messy. Meanwhile, that's on Netflix. Detroiters is on Netflix. Yeah, go check out Friendship. It's a good time. And with that, God, we should wrap the show, I suppose. That is.